It's time for Matt in Conversation, that segment where I talk to somebody who I think is doing something really interesting. And tonight, I'm talking to somebody who really has done something very brave and courageous. I wanted to talk about this issue because it's an issue that I don't think the London Mayor Sadiq Khan really wants to talk about, which is the rape gangs in our capital city. Now, our own Charlie Peters, who of course has been leading the charge nationally on exposing the hideous crimes committed across the nation by Pakistani rape gangs. And in a significant escalation this week, his work has highlighted a big issue. In fact, it was shown in the Scottish Parliament after he exposed rampant abuse in the city of Glasgow. I want to bring Charlie in on this first. Charlie, what can you tell us about this story?
There is a renewed focus on grooming gangs in Scotland after GBNews has revealed 2 case studies that have broken the dam on this issue north of the border. First, we spoke to Taylor, a Glaswegian girl who was abused in care over a decade ago by gangs of up to 10 Pakistani men who plied her with drink and drugs. We also reviewed her care records exclusively, revealing that in one occasion, Police Scotland had visited her care home but failed to interview her, even though her name had appeared in an investigation into group-based abuse. And then we spoke to Fiona Goddard, the brave Bradford survivor, who described to us how she was trafficked from West Yorkshire up to Glasgow for the purposes of sexual abuse by interlinked Pakistani gangs, but also to be used as a drug mule to smuggle Class A drugs, including cocaine. Now, when we revealed these cases last week, there was a cowardly reluctance in Scotland to confront them. There was, as we faced in England over a decade ago, the same conspiracy of silence that prevented the discussion on grooming gangs in Rotherham, in Rochdale, and in countless other towns across the country. Well, yesterday, that conspiracy of silence finally broke because the leader of the Scottish Conservatives, Russell Finlay, used our reporting to question John Swinney, the First Minister, to ask him if he would listen to Taylor, if he would listen to Fiona, and would he launch a further investigation into grooming gangs in Scotland. Well, the First Minister from the SNP said that he was now open to the idea of an inquiry. But this comes after GBNews was also able to report that Police Scotland currently has no markers for group-based abuse. They don't know how to record the issue. And we also were able to report that the government's strategic group looking at child abuse in a meeting in July said that they did not think the same issue in England, as identified by Baroness Louise Casey in her audit on grooming gangs, they didn't think that that problem existed in Scotland. Well, GBNews, through those brave women, has shown that it does exist, and it's now up to the politicians to hear their calls.
But of course, as we know, it is not just Glasgow that's been ravaged by the rape gangs. While our capital city is widely believed to have a problem itself, London's Labour Mayor has been reluctant to acknowledge the issue so far. And I find this particularly appalling. This is a man who has lectured the country on every issue of abuse when it has related to minority communities. But when it's the children of the white British majority, Sadiq Khan is suspiciously quiet. His opposite number in City Hall, Conservative leader Susan Hall, has consistently and robustly challenged Khan on his apparent inaction on the rape gangs. And I'm delighted to say that Susan Hall joins me tonight. Susan, can I just ask you a very direct question here? I've seen what the mayor has been saying in his interactions with you. You have been calling him out consistently on this issue. Thank you for that. Why is he so reluctant to get into this? We've got retired detectives saying it's an issue. We've got the police saying they're investigating 9,000 cases. We've got social workers. We've got charity workers saying this has been going on. Where's the leadership from Sadiq Khan on this issue?
Well, why is he keeping quiet? I mean, you know as well as I do, as in nobody knows. I cannot understand when I first asked him in January, do we have rape gangs in London? And of course, I assumed the answer was yes. You can't have 9 million people in the city and not have the same as going on the rest of the country. His answers, as many of you will have seen on the video that went viral, he just pretended he didn't know what they were. Well, of course he knew what they were. I had a briefing from the police in February who told me and other leaders of the other parties there were no there were no rape gangs in London. I mean, nobody's listening to these poor girls. They're beginning to now, thank God. Why? Why is there this silence? I do not understand.
Big Tech has turned your phone into a surveillance device, harvesting your data, tracking your location, and selling your information to corporations. Unplugged built the upphone to fight back. It's the only smartphone with hardware-level privacy protection, completely blocking data harvesting at the source. It features a physical kill switch that cuts power instantly when you want to go dark, giving you control Big Tech took away. Unplugged puts privacy and sovereignty first. The upphone is built to British standards, designed to keep your data in your hands with independent servers, its own app center, and no corporate gatekeepers. You can access what you choose. No censorship, no app bans, just freedom. Everyone else is playing by Big Tech's rules. Unplugged rewrote them. The upphone runs on an operating system with 0 backdoors and a firewall that blocks thousands of tracking attempts every single day. The upphone includes a host of unique security features. The device can be set to have its memory wiped regularly, and if someone demands your PIN code, well, you can give them a false PIN that will wipe the device. It's called emergency reset. Privacy isn't a feature with Unplugged, it is the foundation. To get yours today, click the link in the description now.
The other thing, I watched the interaction between yourself and Sadiq Khan, and it was absolutely fascinating because what he did is he questioned how you define grooming gangs. What do you mean? What are grooming gangs? And this was a tactic, I would suggest, that was used by many people actually about 10 years ago, who were saying, well, is it organised group-based? You know, is it sort of random criminality, etc.? We know what we're talking about. Everybody in the country knows what we're talking about now, except Sadiq Khan. And as a thought experiment, I sat there today wondering, well, what if some white British guys had been going into a Muslim community in London and there had been rumours of systematic rape and sexual abuse? Sadiq Khan, some people might say, would have been the first person to be calling this out and to be shouting from the rooftops.
Well, regardless of ethnicity or anything else, the fact that young girls and sometimes young boys are being abused in such a horrific way, it needs to be investigated. And as mayor of our city, he's an absolute damn disgrace. I asked him yesterday in a meeting, will you apologise to these girls who saw you pretend you didn't even know what these gangs were? And of course, he wouldn't answer, wouldn't do anything, just talked about people up north and he felt sorry for them. He wouldn't answer, he wouldn't say, I'm sorry. And I asked him if when he was an MP, he was aware of any of this going on in his area. And he wouldn't answer that either. I mean, it makes you wonder, what is going on here?
What do you think is going on? What do you actually think is at the root of this?
I don't know what's at the root of it. I know there's plenty of grooming gangs, or rape gangs as I will call them, in London. I don't know why they haven't been investigated in a better way from the police. And I don't know why the mayor isn't standing alongside me demanding that we know what's going on.
Well, absolutely. Well, the one thing I can say with absolute certainty is GBNews will continue to talk about this issue. Indeed, we've always talked about the issue of the rape gangs, and we've led the national debate about the rape gangs, and some might say helped to pressure, I think, the politicians into taking it much more seriously. I want to bring in my panel now, senior reporter at Guido Fawkes, Ellie Wheatley, and journalist and broadcaster Kai Wilshaw. Kai, if I can start with you. Sadiq Khan doesn't seem to have his arms around this issue in a way that he has had his arms around other issues. Why do you think that is? I mean, you watch the interactions between Susan Hall and Sadiq Khan, and he's sort of playing it down. He's downplaying it. He's saying, well, how do you define it? I've not really seen much evidence of that. But then we can read reports in the national newspapers, retired police detectives who were saying from as early as 2006, they were pointing to cases of grooming gang activity and were basically told not to investigate. You know, so again, you know, I'm frustrated because it seems that you've got politicians here doing everything they can to avoid getting these girls the truth and justice they deserve.
Yeah, and I actually share Susan's both indignation and confusion about why this keeps being the response. And I'm a fairly fair-minded person. I want to give Sadiq Khan the benefit of the doubt because I think many people don't, right? And I imagine that he's, number one, overwhelmed by the sheer reality of this issue going to the top of the agenda, not going away. And often these issues sort of tend to ebb and flow. And I think for a long time, the left has not really grappled with issues like grooming gangs and migration because it has been in the past used and weaponized by nefarious actors. But this is different. And they need to really get a grip on that. Otherwise, they risk looking, they risk doing complete injustice to the victims and looking complicit when I don't think they are.
Ellie Wheatley, this issue is obviously not going to go away. You've got the Reform Party who will be pointing to it. You've got the London mayoral elections not too far away. You know, Sadiq Khan's going to come under growing pressure from media, commentators, politicians. How is this going to evolve? I mean, and how is Sadiq Khan actually going to deal with it?
Well, GBNews and Susan Hall and others must keep pressure on Khan over this, because the way he reacted there was really despicable. And this is what the girls have been hearing for so many years, and they've been just ignored. And by the way, it's not just Khan. Labour have not been particularly good on this issue either. They were very reluctant to actually hold a national inquiry. Victims on the panel, the inquiry panel, actually quit because they felt they were being ignored by safeguarding Minister Jess Phillips. And it's not just that. There was a violence against women and girls strategy report that was meant to be published, promised to be published in May. That's been delayed twice. It doesn't feel like Labour can actually be bothered to get a grip on it. There's a lot of talk, but actually when it comes to action, I'm not really seeing it. I don't know if you are.
Where are, just forgive my confusion, but where are we with the national inquiry into the rape gangs? Because we had Elon Musk intervene in January. We had the big national debate in January. You then had Keir Starmer go from, well, if you're wanting this, you're jumping on a far-right bandwagon, to, no, actually, I'll give you a national inquiry into the rape gangs. Now, where are we? We're at the end of the year and still no serious plan for this inquiry.
Well, these inquiries do obviously take a long time. I know they're speaking to different councils, etc., about all this. I don't know actually how much it's going to cost. But again, it's been quite quiet, hasn't it?
I don't actually care about the cost of it.
They've not even appointed a chair of the inquiry yet. I mean, to the best of my knowledge, so far they haven't. So without even a chair inquiry, they haven't even set out what the role is for the inquiry chair.
Well, we do actually have a statement, from the spokesperson for the Mayor of London, who told GB News it is not a cover-up, and instead said this: Sadiq has consistently been clear to the Met that no stone must be left unturned in pursuing justice for the victims of grooming gangs and ensuring the vile perpetrators are brought to justice. Well, that is what the Mayor of London has said himself about this issue. Whether or not Sadiq Khan delivers on the truth and justice those girls deserve is another thing altogether. We will, of course, continue to monitor this incredibly closely.